So you've got a packed house today, which is great. You can't see, but there's actually hundreds of people up there, which is fantastic. So hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today, even though there could be a few sore heads in the crowd. So hopefully this will probably make it better or worse. I don't know. Let me know afterwards. Thanks, Istanbul, for having me. Moby-Dictum for throwing an amazing conference. Super happy to tell you more about the casual market's history, its segmentation, and revival from my own perspective. I will dig into the longevity in casual and hyper-casual revival. Dive into a few interesting numbers as well, which we've uncovered, which could assist you all. And finally finish with a few hits and tips that you guys can take away and either implement them, and maybe if not, if they didn't work, then have a go at me via email, whatever it may be. But hopefully this is definitely helpful for you guys. So a bit about me. I am Sean from GameAnalytics. I've spent the past 10 years in the mobile gaming industry. I've covered multiple different areas within mobile gaming, from advertising, from SuperAwesome, now part of Epic Games, to Mintegral, part of Vista, to obviously software development from AppOnboard / Buildbox, and what I'm doing right now here with GameAnalytics. Currently, I'm the head of BD and customer success at GameAnalytics, so I look after game studios, try to help them out with their data, turning data into insights, trying to make sure that they are growing from an engagement and retention perspective, therefore revenue. That's the overall goal, I think, for everyone. And I've been with the company about 2.5 years now. Absolutely loving it. And also, my favorite game is Civilization 5, although it did almost destroy my whole university career. Okay, does it work? Brilliant. Now, to frame up what we're going to be talking about today, these are 5 broad categories that summarize different types of games. Just to repeat, they're not game genres, match-3, endless runner, word racing, but instead a combination of gameplay mechanics and business models. I recently saw a chart that showed 30% of yearly downloads went to the hyper-casual industry, and all other genres had less than 10% of total downloads, lumping them into everything else. We could do more to really study the game mechanics that work within this category. So when I started within the industry, hyper-casual was not a word. Instead, it was very simple games did exist, like Crossy Road is a general classic. Bejeweled Blitz is another one as well. But mobile advertising industry was still up and coming, and more feasible to make money through mobile games through in-app purchases, for example. That was primarily the main source of monetization. So we called these games very simple gameplay casual games. And then the continuum spanned only between casual and core. Now you have core, for example, PUBG, Call of Duty, mid-core, Brawl Stars, Marvel Strike Force, Merge Mansions in there, hybrids also there with Habby, of course. I know Habby's been mentioned several times in several discussions. And then also hyper-casual, Color Water Sport, Cornhole from Tap Nation, for example. So mobile games market became saturated and more competitive. Casual games were needing to add more and more monetization features and go deep with live operations. At the same time, the mobile advertising industry was maturing. Some very clever developers saw the opportunity to use UA arbitrage as their primary business model, while others, arguably more entrenched, were distracted with in-app purchase and live ops. The person who I believe coined the term hyper-casual was a gentleman called Johannes Heinz. Now, Johannes was part of AppLovin at the time, then went on to found Popcore, as who you know is purchased by Rolik, then Zynga, then Take-Two, and God knows who else last year. However, he described the movement as a backlash of nostalgic revival in terms of gameplay, which I personally really like. Now, back to the basics, with studios trying to find the core fun in a gameplay mechanic without any bells and whistles. Now, Bejeweled Blitz example is what was happening within when hyper-casual actually did emerge. Started as a very simple 1-minute speed matching game, as a mini game inside of a larger Bejeweled title, selling for around about $10 on the App Store. Competing against some of the rising juggernauts at the time, like Zynga, King, Supercell. Very tough job. Then they realized standalone version of the Blitz gameplay. They added feature after feature, leaderboards, more and more power-ups, characters and storyline, timers, progression maps, events, and all the live op bells and whistles that we know today. Hyper-casual did none of that. The pillars of a hyper-casual game became 100% ad business model. Very simple gameplay, low quality graphics, rapid development cycles. Hyper-casual became this bubblegum, this Craig Chappelle snackable, chew 'em up and spit 'em out, where the core was last meal, deep meta, and mastered in-game economies. You'll see some of these dynamics play out in the metrics I'll show you a little bit later, but this is what the continuum naturally looks like right now. Now, 10 years in, UA arbitrage is coming to an end, at least significantly altered. Everyone here is keenly aware of this, driven by Apple's decision to be privacy-focused in the release of ATT. Google is also signaling that they will follow suit, as they always do with the privacy sandbox. Look, this is well documented, well discussed. I won't go too much into details and bore you all with opinions and so on and so forth. However, the relevant effect of this is that the quality of low-cost installs that hyper-casual developers relied on is naturally going down. So there's a shift in the market there. So we have the pressure on hyper-casual developers to be more competitive with in-app purchases, monetization, and retention mechanics. There is a need to focus and migrate up the continuum. Now, I'm in the camp that hyper-casual is not dead, although some discussions, some things you've heard amongst each other. I do think it's not dead. I think it's just slowed down. I think there's something there. It's more like the environment is ripe for disruption and change. Frequent currents pushing developers into the casual range, so up that continuum. Popcore, Johannes Heinz, remarked about their acquisition that they would be marrying hyper-casual output simplicity with live ops engagement monetization strength from Zynga. History repeats itself, which is why I believe we're in a casual revival / hybrid casual revival, whatever you like to call it these days. I believe casual has something coming for it. I'm seeing hyper-casual studios adapt in two ways. Launch and adapt the best. I mentioned Bejeweled Blitz before, now heavily reliant on live ops and core casual mechanics. More recent example as well, Mob Control by Voodoo, which I think was Jakob, done that example in his previous talk, is shown here. And Collect Them All by Voodoo as well. Both started as traditional Voodoo hyper-casual games. Voodoo put teams behind them to build out casual mechanics and live ops. When you come into this game new, this looks very much like a traditional casual game. It doesn't look like a hyper-casual game. This strategy is hard, it's very difficult. And live ops are a different compatibility for hyper-casual studios. It's a change in skill set in general, but still lends itself to rapid development that hyper-casual studios are known for. It's about consistently releasing, but rather than on multiple games, on the same game. The next way we're seeing studios adapt is start with a blend. Go along the Habby route. Habby's been mentioned again several times in talks and everything like that. I think it's a fantastic company. Purposefully making games that have mass market appeal, combined with deep monetization design. Therefore, ask the question, is anyone doing hybrid casual from the start? You could argue that hybrid casual is actually casual. It's not a merge or a match mechanic, but it has all the same trappings, all the same flavors. Now, we've done some digging on our side, see the trend of the market, see where things are changing. We track over 90,000 games every single month across all platforms and genres. We have a great view into the industry with our benchmarks and how games work in terms of their core KPIs. I will highlight a few differences between these types of games in terms of their metrics. I trust and hope that this information will be helpful in understanding where your games need to be performing to succeed across these two categories. In terms of the methodology here, we split in terms of App Store category and our own tagging as what we do very well with our Game Intel product and Benchmarks Plus feature in there too. We took the best performing games in terms of MAU and looked at so far this year, 2023. So hold on to your hats. So what we've actually seen is that hyper-casual and casual retention profiles are very similar. We hear that casual games have a better long-term retention, but I think we should really tread lightly here. From what we see, there is a huge difference. So now I'm curious to look into retention metrics like return rates, like current user return rates, new user return rates, resurrected return rates, and so on and so forth. However, we'll dig into this a little bit further. And whilst we're digging into this, I encourage you to watch the GameAnalytics blog for more commentary on this as well, because this is very interesting on us, and I think everyone here, and I think we'll be posting a bit more on our findings as we kind of move along over the course of this year, of course. But for now, we'll probably take this as a fact. The numbers are there. Next, we'll uncover more about engagement. Now, this is key in casual. Now, casual games have a greater engagement in terms of longer sessions and more sessions per day. It gives you more opportunities to show both ads, but also to inspire in-app purchases as well. So we see here the total playtime per day is 10% to 95% greater in casual games. So this is where the opportunity lies, in engagement and trying to get that game as sticky as possible so you can show more ads, more opportunities for in-app purchases. Very similar to what Jakob was mentioning earlier on from 2.5 Gamers about having that template available. Conversion is quite low to in-app purchase. It does not come easy, we know that. We have also seen a downward decline in in-app purchase conversion numbers over the past 12 months across all genres. Casual games command greater ARPU than players with similar daily conversion to hyper-casual as well. So there's something there to kind of really dig into. And again, we're doing a more kind of digging into these numbers, make sure that you guys are fully equipped with the data and the know-how in general to make sure that you're fully equipped to making a hybrid casual game a casual game. Now, you know what you're aiming at in terms of making a hybrid or casual game. What else do you need for this trip? It's a fun journey, so we try to help you out as much as possible. Any more complexity that you add within the game should be in the metagame and not the core loop. Easy to play, hard to master, an old gaming quote, and is true across all these different categories of games, especially important for this migration. Players must immediately know how to play the game. Players must know why they won and also lost the game too. Emphasis on graphics and animations. Who doesn't like a well-executed game with high-quality graphics and animations? It would naturally bring in more organic users in there as well, and maybe even help out your UA campaign. One example, which I'd love to show, is Makeover Match by Tactile. Solidly a casual game. Very nice graphics, animations, look and feel, very attractive. Everything is polished. It's important to know that as you move up the continuum from hyper-casual to casual, this is what you're competing against. Now, it doesn't certainly mean you need to go out there and hire a lead designer, for example, and splash the cash and try to make it look pretty. There are AI tools that probably make this easier for everyone. I can't name any on the top of my head, but there's AI for everything these days, so do check it out. Even AI could actually be part of the disruption. So very interesting. Very interesting to look into that a bit further. But other tools and automation are there to help you. But this is the standard, I do believe. Okay, high output. We can all be inspired by the higher launch output that hyper-casual publishers have. You know, they churn out games, they test them out, they soft launch and then launch them, they keep going again. Chew them up and spit them out, exactly what I mentioned. Other players in casual space do lots of testing as well, and do it to a more subtle and hidden way, I think. I think it's a superpower of hyper-casual developers to be able to churn out games at the rate that they do. High shots on goal. I think Jakob mentioned in his previous talk, high shots on goal is important both in terms of seeking that hit and fresh game, and also in live ops development, so when you find a game that finally has legs. So when you see that launch games in 2022, you see that Rolex Zynga, Take-Two, whoever they be acquired next, launched the most games, 113, Voodoo 63, Supersonic 33. Now, this is kind of what we've seen so far in 2023, so these numbers are just what we saw back in the day. But you see high shots on goal, basically casting it as wide as possible, you eventually catch as many fish as you can, if that makes sense. Live ops, many live ops tactics. Crucial to launch, test and learn what works for your players. Now, you could do this with the gameplay data. GameAnalytics and other analytical solutions out there as well can help you in this area, particularly to monitor and drill down into player behavior, spot game design issues, and maybe most importantly in terms of this talk, run player level ops activities which can be done through, let's say, our data suite feature, Player Warehouse, and also others out there as well. Now, if you want to find out a bit more about how this is actually structured and how this can help you out, I'm here at Moby Dixon for the rest of the day. So do grab me if you want to find out more. Alternatively, my email address will be at the end as well, so do drop me an email to find out more. I'll run you through everything that we have. But insights and live ops, I'll definitely say, is one that everyone, no matter what genre, should really be looking into. UA, buy-in players. It's still the best discovery method available for mobile games. It is the best path to building an audience at scale. Important to run the most efficient and effective user acquisition with a pipeline of fresh creatives from the high creative side of things, and the tightest UA ship possible. Again, AI tools are up and coming there. I think I attended a talk from James Crabb at GameLight, and I think he has really good and interesting insights on that one, how AI technology can help out with UA activity. Do check them out. But they are tools to help you guys out, of course. And there's so much automated tech to make this possible. The need to master UA has not gone away. Bundled mini-games. I remember mini-games as a coffee break, but also brings the player back to the core gameplay once they're done. This example is by Glue, is Flavor Quest, and something to be inspired by. Game Refinery can mention 77% of casual games had some sort of mini-game in them. Now, this can be true on three aspects. Number one, purely for UA. Widens emotional appeal of the game, reduces reliance on targeting, more relevant to larger audiences. And as a side mode, is generally retention and fun. Who doesn't want to get sidetracked and come back into the core loop? I think that naturally has the engagement metric, which I kind of mentioned earlier on. It draws players back in. It feels like they've left and come back again. And as part of live events, like retention and monetization is also part of that too. But mini games, I think, is generally key, even if it's something really small. Consider multi-distribution channels for your game. You know, we see many casual games on Steam at a low cost. There's also the metaverse in there as well. I know that some development studios, historically hyper-casual, are now moving into the kind of console-based products and hardware. So do check it out. I think cast your net as wide as possible, distribute your game as far as possible. There's more opportunity of revenue to be had there. Because mobile is notoriously hard. And has a potential pivot for you. It is time to consider other platforms for your games altogether. It's a difficult industry. So we will hopefully that could help you out as well. Now, we're in a state of revival where traditionally casual live ops and monetization methods are more in focus. You now know it's all about session length and engagement, trying to keep that player within the game, more opportunities to show in-app purchases as well as advertising in there as well. And you have some advice on what to consider for the revival. I want to emphasize again that we definitely are, in an environment that is ripe for disruption. I'm excited to see what comes and what you guys will build and help to build. Hope what I talked about today gives you some inspiration. GameAnalytics is here for you on this really incredible journey. So do reach out if you have any questions. Any questions about the data you've seen as well, do let me know. That's me. I do have an email address. I think it's just gone from the thing. It's Sean@GameAnalytics.com. Do reach out and do hit me on LinkedIn. I'm always on there. Yeah, thank you very much for listening to my talk, and I'll be happy to take any questions if there are any. Okay, thank you so much, guys.